Hello friends, welcome to yet another video. Today I am going to discuss one of the most famous essays of Francis Bacon, that is Of Studies. So before moving on to the essay, let me talk something about Francis Bacon. As we all know, he is often regarded as the father of English essays. He had written a number of essays, and the most notable feature of Bacon's essays is his aphoristic style. Aphoristic style means making straightforward statements that state a truth. Okay, for example, in the essay of studies, we can cite many examples for such aphoristic style. Okay, so making general statements. His style of writing, it is almost impersonal. Impersonality is another important feature of his essays. His personal choices and opinions are not at all reflected in his writings. So all through the essay we can find him as impersonal, an impersonal writer. As we all know, his essays are usually short. Okay. The topics of his essays were drawn from both public and private life. The first edition of his essays, titled Essays, Religious Meditations, Places of Persuasion and Dissuasion, Seen and Loved. It was first published in 1597, and the original edition, it included only 10 essays. And then a much enlarged second edition appeared in 1612 with 38 essays. And another, under the title Essays or Counsels, Civil and Moral, was published in 1625 with 58 essays. So we can move on to the discussion of this essay of studies. Here I'll be giving a line-by-line explanation of this essay of studies. So let me read the essay at first. It begins like this. Studies serve for delight, for ornament, and for ability. Their chief use for delight is in privateness and retiring, for ornament is in discourse, and for ability is in the judgment and disposition of business. For expert men can execute and perhaps judge of particulars one by one, but the general counsels and the plots and marshalling of affairs come best from those that are learned. So here Bacon explains to us how study of books are useful to us. So here in the beginning, he refers to the three functions of studies. Okay, he refers to the triple functions of studies and also how the study of books are helpful to us. Okay, the study of books, it is useful in three aspects according to Francis Bacon. First is it serves for delight, second for ornament, and third for ability. Then he elaborates on these three functions of studies. First he says, their chief use for delight is in privateness and retiring. So when a man is in privateness or retiring, that is when he remains in solitude or when a man has leisure time, then study of books gives him joy. It gives him pleasure. So when he is in his leisure time, when a man is alone and has no company, then the study of books, it gives him a pleasant company. Okay, it is for pleasure then. Then the second use for ornament is in discourse. That is, while he is reading a book, he gets enough of materials from the book. Okay, from the book which he reads. He gets a lot of quotations, illustrations from the book which he is reading. And so, with all these knowledge, he can embellish his conversations with others. Okay? For ornament is in discourse. That is, what he reads, the knowledge get from reading the books, he can use it in discourse, that is in conversation with others. He can use all these materials there. Then the third one, and for ability is in the judgment and disposition of business. That is, study of books increases one's practical ability. Okay, it helps to develop an ability to make correct judgments in his daily affairs. And also it teaches him to manage them well. Okay, he gets an ability to make correct judgments. So these are the three uses of studies. So he says, for a man who has leisure time, who is in solitude, for such people, study of books, it gives them pleasant joy, happiness, pleasure. It is for pleasure. And it has an ornament value, and when studies help them to improve their knowledge, and they can use that knowledge in their conversation, in discourse with others. Okay, and the third one, it can develop the ability to judge, and it help them to manage his own business elegantly. Okay, these are the three uses of studies according to Francis Bacon. Then he says, for expert men can execute and perhaps judge of particulars one by one, but the general counsels and the plots and marshalling of affairs come best from those that are learned. Here he says that those expert men, they can execute their plans perfectly well even without reading. Okay, and perhaps judge of particulars one by one. He can execute his plans without proper reading. Okay, but the general counsels and the plots and marshalling of affairs come best from those that are learned. But if it is a learned person means those men who have gained knowledge from wide reading. Okay, if it is a learned person, he will be more efficient in planning and executing the practical matters. Okay, so it will be more effective in the case of learned person. Okay. That is, studies enable the man to judge everything with ability and can handle his own affairs with ease and success. He can well manage things. He can manage things more better than an expert man. Those who are learned people. Learned person can execute things much more better. Okay. Then he says, to spend too much time in studies is sloth. To use them too much for ornament is affectation. To make judgment wholly by their rules is the humor of a scholar. They perfect nature and are perfected by experience. For natural abilities are like natural plants that need pruning. By study, and studies themselves do give forth directions too much at large, except they be bounded in by experience. Here he says that an excess of everything is bad. To spend too much time in studies is sloth. To use them too much for ornament is affectation. To make judgment wholly by their rules is the humor of a scholar. So here he says that it is good that you are well read. That means studies have all these three purposes, and all those things are right. But to spend too much time in studies, it is not good. It is sloth. That means laziness. It's good that you read books for pleasure, for knowledge, and all those things. All those things are right. But to spend too much time in studies is sloth. It is laziness. It is a kind of laziness. And to use them too much for ornament is affectation. That means to show off your knowledge. Okay, it is a kind of affectation. That means you're showing your knowledge to others in order to get their attention or so and so. That means people will think that you are not at all genuine, or you are not at all, you are just showing off your knowledge. So it is a kind of affectation. Then to make judgment wholly by their rules is the humor of a scholar. That means earlier he says that by learning, a learned man can make proper judgments. He says that, but to make judgment wholly by their rules, only by following that books that you read, it is not right. That is blind faith on the rules learned from the book. It's not good. Okay. So it only reveals the eccentricity of a scholar who remains unconcerned with the realities of practical life. So according to Bacon, such he advised us to spend only a reasonable length of time for studies. Okay, he says that one needs not to spend too much time in reading because that would simply be marked as a sign of laziness. Okay, then one should not show off their knowledge. That is a kind of affectation. And then blind faith of rules. That is also not good. They perfect nature and are perfected by experience. For natural abilities are like natural plants that need pruning by study, and studies themselves do give forth directions too much at large, except they be bounded in by experience. So then he says, study and experience, they must go hand in hand because they have mutually complementary in nature. Okay. Practical experience, it teaches man how to make use of the knowledge gained from the books. Okay, only gaining knowledge from the books, they are not enough. Okay, we have to understand how to use it. So practical experience teaches man how to make use of the knowledge that we gain from the books. So natural abilities are never enough until they are properly substantiated. So here he gives a nice simile. For natural abilities are like natural plants that need pruning. By study, and studies themselves do give forth directions too much at large, except they be bounded in by experience. So he says natural abilities are like natural plants that need pruning. That is, he says, plants which are left to nature, it will soon grow out of shape. Okay, if they are not subjected to regular pruning. So only by proper trimming it can be in shape. Okay, likewise, man's natural abilities are to be trimmed. They are to be shaped and developed. So it can be developed only by the study of books. Okay, just as natural plants. Natural plants will grow out of shape if they are not subjected to regular pruning. Likewise, just as nature is to be subjected to studies are also to be subjected to experience, which is very essential. So study and experience must go hand in hand. Okay. Man's natural abilities, they are to be trimmed, they are to be shaped and developed only by the study of books. So, studies are essential and also experience. Studies by themselves are not enough. Okay. It will give only guidance to us. They are based upon some principles. Okay. Only when experiences of practical life are associated with studies, then it will become useful and meaningful for us. Okay, so studies can give us only guidance. Only when experiences of practical life are associated with studies, then it will be more useful. Okay. Then he says, crafty men condemn studies, simple men admire them, and wise men use them. For they teach not their own use, but that is a wisdom without them, and above them won by observation. So another famous quotation of Francis Bacon, crafty men condemn studies, simple men admire them, and wise men use them. Here Bacon discussed the different attitudes of people towards books, okay, and also studies. Crafty men, that means people who are shrewd, very cunning people. Men condemn studies. Crafty men condemn studies. People who are very shrewd, cunning people. These people never consider book as something useful to them. Okay, they will never consider book as useful to them. They look down upon the books. Okay, they consider that these books are not at all useful for them because they think that their cunningness is much superior to bookish knowledge. So they condemn studies. They never give enough importance to studies. Crafty men condemn studies. That is, such people, such crafty men, cunning people, they have enough of practical knowledge or experience, but they never have education, proper education. Such men always condemn or disregard studies because they may be overconfident that their own experience are much more superior to the bookish knowledge, and it helped them to become successful in life. So such people, crafty men, condemn studies. Simple men admire them. That is, simple men means uneducated people. They never condemn studies. Okay. Rather, they look upon studies in amazement. Okay. They always look upon studies. They consider studies as something very important. So such people always respect those people who are learned. They understand the importance of learning, of studies. Crafty men condemn studies, simple men admire them, and wise men use them. That is, it is only the wise people who put studies to its best use. Wise people make best use of studies. They read books and derives the best advantage of their studies. Okay. That is, Bacon never intends that these wise men are bookish. They are not completely bookish. Rather, they perfect their natures by studies. And they combine these studies, these bookish knowledge with their experience and observation of life. But that is a wisdom without them and above them won by observation. So these wise men, they combine their knowledge, they combine their studies, they combine what they learn from books with experience to gain the maximum advantage of it. Okay. Read not to contradict and confute, nor to believe and take for granted, nor to find talk and discourse, but to weigh and consider. So Bacon here advised us not to read books just to contradict and confute the arguments made by other people. Okay, he asked us not to believe everything that is written in the books and take for granted what is written in the books. While reading books, we should not merely try to find talks and discourses. Rather, we should always weigh and consider whatever we read. So read not to contradict and confute, not to believe and take for granted, not to find talk and discourse, but to weigh and consider. So while reading a book, we must not be preoccupied with ideas or prejudices. Okay, we should approach a book with an open mind. A book may contain many views, which will be quite contrary to that of ours. So we should not approach a book with prejudices. Okay, he says we should not read just to contradict and confute the arguments made by the writers in the book. And also, there is no need to believe and take for granted what is written in the books. Then he says, while reading books, we should not merely read it to find talks and discourses. Okay, whatever written in the books must not be taken for granted, or it should not be believed. Okay, there is no need for us to believe whatever is written in the books. But we should approach a book with an open mind. We must judge and examine everything that is written in the books or what we read in course of our studies. So there we have to approach the books with an open mind. Okay. Some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. That is, some books are to be read only in parts, others to be read but not curiously, and some few to be read wholly and with diligence and attention. Some books also may be read by deputy and extracts made of them by others, but that would be only in the less important arguments and the meaner sort of books. Else, distilled books are like common distilled waters, flashy things. Here in these lines, Bacon discusses about the amount of attention that a reader should give in their reading. So some books are to be tasted. That means some books are to be, they are for mere cursory reading, just only in parts. Okay, some to be swallowed. We should read the book completely, but not with much attention. Okay, just a hurried reading of them. Then some few to be chewed and digested. That means there are certain books which we have to be read wholly with very much attention, with diligence and attention. They need to be read with complete and perfect attention. Okay. They are to be read thoroughly, line to line. Okay. Then there are certain other books which may be read with the help of an assistant or secretary or by oneself. Some books also may be read by deputy and extracts made of them by others, but that would be only in the less important arguments and the meaner sort of books. Else, distilled books are like common distilled waters, flashy things. So there are certain books which may be read with the help of an assistant. Instead of reading these books thoroughly, one can also have the summary of it. Then he says that summaries and extracts of books, they are always tasteless. Bacon compared them with distilled water. Equally tasteless, but of course equally hygienic. Then another famous quotation, reading maketh a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. And therefore, if a man write little, he had need have a great memory. If he confer little, he had need have a present wit. And if he read little, he had need have much cunning, to seem to know that he doth not. Histories make men wise, poets witty, mathematics subtle, natural philosophy deep, moral grave, logic and rhetoric able to contend. Reading maketh a full man. Through reading, a man matures his understanding. He enriches himself with many information which he gathered from reading. He thus becomes a full man, a fully developed power of mind, knowledge, and also information. Then conference a ready man. Conversation with others, discussion with others. It will help him to sharpen his wit. It make him a ready man, a man who can give a quick and apt reply according to the occasion. So this conversation, it makes him quick-witted, accurate, and writing an exact man. So the habit of writing makes a man precise or accurate, even to small details. So in fact, the habit of writing down or taking down the notes and comments, it fixes the ideas permanently in the memory. It cannot be easily be forgotten. Okay. And therefore, if a man write little, he had need have a great memory. If he confer little, he had need have a present wit. And if he read little, he had need have much cunning to seem to know that he doth not. Too much of reading, it keeps our mind vague, and many things may go out of our mind. But it is only writing that makes us accurate, an exact man. Okay, if a man has much cleverness or intelligence, he can of course do well without much reading. He will behave in such a manner that people may not find his ignorance. Likewise, a quick-witted man with a sharp presence of mind, he can equally do without much talking or conversation to get that quality. So then he says, learning certain subjects, learning different subjects can create different impact upon people. Histories make men wise, poets witty, the mathematics subtle, natural philosophy deep, moral grave, logic and rhetoric able to content. So, if we learn history, it will make people wise. That means we get information about the people who had lived before us, about we get information about the early ages, periods. So, we will become more wise. People become more wise when they study history. Then, studying poetry, it makes you witty, intelligent. Mathematics subtle, natural philosophy deep, moral grave. Means studying mathematics, you will try to answer the questions, you will try to solve problems. So studying mathematics make you subtle, serious. Then natural philosophy, when you study philosophy, it makes you deep, means you started to think deeply. Then moral, study of moral, ethics makes you grave. You will become more serious in your thoughts. That means you will think about the right and the wrong. Okay, you will start thinking about right and wrong. Then study of logic and rhetoric able to content, which means when you study logic and rhetoric, ability to content, that is you will get the ability to argue, ability to content. Then there is a Latin phrase, abund studia in moris. So there are a lot of Latin lines and phrases here in Bacon's essays. So here he says, abund studia in moris. Nay, there is no stunt or impediment in the wit, but may be wrought out by fit studies, like as diseases of the body may have appropriate exercises. So here he uses a Latin phrase, abend studia in moris, which means studies pass into character. That means studies will make changes in one's character. Studies pass into character. Then he says certain diseases of our body can be cured by appropriate exercises. Some diseases of our body can be cured by taking appropriate exercises. Likewise, right kind of studies can cure the impediments of the mind. That means it can cure the impediments of our mind, right kind of studies. Then he gives certain examples for this. He says, bowling is good for the stone and reins, shooting for the lungs and breast, gentle walking for the stomach, riding for the head, and the like. So he says, bowling is good for the stone and reins, shooting for the lungs and breast, gentle walking for the stomach, riding for the head, and the like. So he gives examples. He says that different exercises can cure the diseases of the body, or otherwise it will be helpful for our body. So if a man's wit be wandering, let him study the mathematics. For in demonstrations, if his wit be called away, never so little he must begin again. So he says, likewise, like exercises are good for our body. Likewise, if a man's wit be wandering, let him study the mathematics. That means if a person lack concentration, if a person didn't have proper concentration, he should study mathematics. Why? Because while we are doing mathematical problems, we know if we lose our concentration, we will lose the connection with the whole problem itself. That means we have to begin again. We have to start the problem again. We have to do the problem again, because we will lose the connection. So if a person's wit be wandering, if he lack concentration, let him study the mathematics. So it will improve his concentration. It will help improving his concentration. Then, if his wit be not apt to distinguish or find differences, let him study the schoolmen. for they are simini sectoris. So here he is saying that if he is not able to distinguish things or find differences between two things, if he cannot understand, he cannot distinguish properly or find differences between two things, he should study the schoolmen. Schoolmen here means the philosophers of the Middle Ages. They are considered to be simini sectoris. That means these schoolmen, these philosophers, they are very knowledgeable and they know minute details of everything. So they are the right people to study. So the people who are not able to distinguish things or find differences between things, they have to study the schoolmen. If he be not apt to beat over matters and to call up one thing to prove and illustrate another, let him study the lawyer's cases. So every defect of the mind may have a special receipt. So if a person is not able to understand things properly, okay, then let him study the lawyer's cases. If he doesn't understand the real cause behind a thing, if he is not apt to beat over matters, to call upon one thing to prove and illustrate another, let him study the lawyer's cases. So he have to study lawyers in order to understand things properly. If he couldn't understand things properly, let him study lawyers. So every defect of the mind may have a special receipt. So here he says that for every defects of the mind, there will be a remedy. That means for every problem of mind, there will be certain remedies. Just as every diseases have certain can be cured by some appropriate exercises. Likewise, defects of the mind can be cured by certain remedies. Okay, if there is any problem in concentration, you have to study mathematics. If you couldn't find differences or you couldn't distinguish things, let such people study schoolmen. Okay, if one cannot beat over matters, let him study the lawyers. So every defect of the mind, it can be cured. There will be certain remedies, just as certain diseases of the body can be cured by appropriate exercises. Thus, Bacon ends his essay of studies very abruptly, without having a proper conclusion. This is only a brief explanation of studies. So I think it will be helpful to you. Thank you so much.